All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome here. My name is Howard Moore, and I'm not the presenter. I'm a host, just to welcome you here. You're in the youth room, just to remind you of that. And the breakout session for this hour is entitled Leveraging Technology for Gospel Purposes. Before I introduce our presenter, I want you to know that this session is being live streamed to our satellite sites in Quebec, Ontario, Manitoba, and British Columbia. It is also available to everyone who has registered and downloaded the Mission Fest Manitoba app. So please know that your image may appear on the live stream broadcast. And if you don't absorb all of the content in this presentation, the video of this session will be available after Mission Fest is over on our YouTube channel. Our presenter today is Brian Dick. I actually know Brian quite well, but I'm going to stick to the script as I present him, okay? Because then I might take the whole time otherwise. Brian has been a production farmer, and over the years there has been a growing awareness that there are farmers in this world who are not able to produce enough food to meet even the basic needs of their families. Brian and his wife, Ruth, there you are, have always had a sense of responsibility towards the Lord and missions. So when this opportunity did arise to manage a farm project in South Sudan, Brian decided that he would go rather than missing an opportunity that the Lord had clearly called him to. So Brian will talk to us about how business can enhance and support the spread of the gospel. And in this session, we will hear about how a group of local Manitoba agricultural entrepreneurs are doing that. Listen to their story, and perhaps God will give you some ideas on how to leverage your business to do the same. I'm just going to pray, and then I'll turn it over to Brian. Father, thank you for this moment that we have together. We want to claim this time for you, and we ask that your Spirit would guide us as Brian shares with us concerning this ministry that you have called him to. And we pray that your Spirit would guide us in our minds and in our thinking during the time that we hear this story. It's for the sake of the Lord of the harvest that I pray this. Amen. Brian is from Manitoba, but let's give him a warm Mission Fest Manitoba welcome as he comes to present.
It's a tremendous honor to be here. I feel like I can relate to Moses right now in objection to the Lord's call there at the burning bush. You know, I can't speak. I've been speaking for years already, but every moment is a new, or like every opportunity is a. It seems like it's like the first time. But I'm grateful to be here. I'm going to just start my talk with a 2.5-minute video that has been prepared that does a good job of giving an overview of our ministry. The vision of helping small farmers on the continent of Africa has just been on my heart for the last few years. We're here in this welding shop in rural Manitoba in order to develop a prototype for what can be simply recreated over and over again in countries like Uganda and South Sudan, where I've been working. This tractor can pull a variety of soil tillage tools and a planter as well, probably a 2-row corn planter. Beyond that, you could use it to pull a small cart. There's all kinds of possibilities. There have been 2 men that have partnered with me in helping design this tractor.
The first visit was like, this is like awesome. Bring it. Let's do this, right? And after a couple, I don't know, was it half a year or something like that? I was like, I got a good buddy of mine that would probably love to see this project.
I guess in 2008 when I went to Africa, so many people are out in the fields using hose. And I just knew there was a much easier way to do it. And then when Brian and Cam come that night and asked about helping with his tractor, as soon as Brian started talking, I knew this was something that I really wanted to be a part of, to use my gift to be able to help others.
Pretty simple for me, it's not complicated. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, strength. Love your neighbor as yourself.
We're reverse engineering. We are trying to find the simplest ways to build a tractor so that we can take the designs that we are confident in and then move very quickly towards production of the tractor in Africa. We have been in communication with 2 other agencies working in South Sudan who are interested in helping us establish and see the long-term, viability of this project. There are many gospel preaching efforts that have a humanitarian side to them, whether it's an orphanage, a hospital, a school. They're all meant to show God's kindness. It opens the hearts of people to receive the message of the gospel. We're really trying to, as we are thinking about plowing soil, in a way we are, we're plowing the fallow ground within the human heart so that when the seed of the gospel is dropped in, it has a chance to grow.
Okay. All right. My experience in doing this as a really pretty much a layperson in my ministry experience has been that God brings people into your life who just help you do whatever that vision is better than what you could do yourself. And Kurt and Cameron, who are both here this morning, if you were here a number of years back, I had this simple walk-behind machine. It was a kind of a spindly-looking thing it was rebar, made wheels, and, it was a beginning. And it was, I just wanted to construct a small tractor that could help people. I was doing that on my farm, and then they came along and really took the vision to the next level. Randy Hebert, a good friend of mine, who is an amateur filmmaker, does my video work and all of our promo materials and everything. And these people just, they're willing to serve the Lord on our behalf and help this ministry to launch. I guess if there's a couple things that I would like to be able to communicate through this workshop, is that business as mission is a relevant and I think will have a growing level of importance within completing the Great Commission as more and more countries become limited access nations, those who are just not open to the gospel. Ministries with names like, appropriate technologies will have a place because we can go in kind of incognito, under the cover, as it will, and be able to do great things for God. And discipleship done by, leading a project like this, having a few employees, all of a sudden, create job creation, bringing something new to agriculture. Those things are, they're very much needed in the world. And with the skill sets that are groomed into people from our culture can be used to be such a blessing in other parts of the world. There's 3 things for human existence that never go out of style, right? Our need for clothing, our need for shelter, and our need for food and clean drinking water. And so we're involved in agriculture, and on a kind of a limited way we're involved with clean water as well because of the association that we have with our partners in South Sudan. And so I'm really grateful. And I'm going to just be telling a little bit of kind of my story, where we're at currently. I've been home for 7 weeks now. I live in the capital city of Juba, South Sudan. My wife, when she's with me, she's here. We're sometimes here together. We kind of have 2 lives that we're living. We got our ministry life, and then we got my wife's educational life at Steinbach Bible College. And so she's in the 3rd year of her 4-year degree program. And so she's just keeps on packing more tools into her toolbox, and that God will use in future years. And we don't even know how it's all going to all work out for us yet. But the journey that we're on at the moment is exciting, and sometimes a bit stressful, and it continues to challenge us in how to be servants to each other as husband and wife, and so it's good. I'll just go through. I haven't got a really tightly scripted talk. I hope that's okay. I do have a couple of albums on my phone that I'm going to be using. So I just want to tell you a little bit how it is that we are able to launch into ministry. Maybe you've seen as you've walked through the exhibits, we are missionaries under Equip Canada. We're a relatively new organization over the last 22 years, something like that. I'll just say here, Equip Canada, this is their brochure. Danny Mackay leads our organization, and this is our descriptor here. Equip Canada does this. They're equipping those with unique entrepreneurial callings to missions and to provide the support to make that possible. So there's not one of my colleagues that is doing exactly what I'm doing. And we don't all work in agriculture, and we actually don't even all work in business. Some of the kinds of ministries that we do are a bit more, traditional looking maybe. We got those who, go speaking and street ministry, and there's all kinds of different stuff that goes on. We've got a guy who's a great video documentary kind of a person, and that's the kind of thing that he does. And so these things that don't maybe fit the paradigm of more traditional models of sending agencies, Equip is out there. So if that appeals to you, we've got Danny here who would love to talk to you. Okay, so just a little bit about Equip. I'll try not to be too long. The founder of our organization, Barry Flitcroft, really believed it was important that when in serving the poor, serving has to go right along with proclamation. So it's a bit that he used this idea that it's missionary work among the poor is like riding a bicycle. One hand is serving and the other hand is teaching and preaching the gospel. And so just looking at this is our old logo. This is the new one here now. The old one was pretty obvious in what we were involved in with clean water, agriculture, and in medical training. And so some years back, my wife Ruth took what's called the Missionary Medical Intensive Training in Marion, North Carolina. It is a 2-week period in which you almost don't sleep, at least according to my wife, because you're in lectures all day long from competent presenters teaching on all manner of medical stuff, which I won't get into because Ruth's better at that. And then all evening you're reading case studies of the similar sort of stuff. And so anyway, if something like that, if you wanted to go into a developing country, into a tropical setting, and have some idea how to look after yourself where medical resources are limited, MMI might be for you. And so with Equip, we're allowed to have our own tag underneath Equip, so we're called Appropriate Technologies. And right next to the Equip booth, there's Give the Word, and that ministry that's Ryan Rempel's tagline. He's also an Equip missionary. So anyway, Danny just walked in there. All right, moving on. So this is just Ruth and I wearing some of our African stuff. This is on our farm in Riverton. I thought this particular crop of peaches and cream sweet corn was looking really good, so I thought, I'd just throw that in here. This is our family. We are real people. We have raised our kids, and by God's grace, they're all walking with the Lord. They're all productive members of society, and we're very proud and thankful for them. This is our farm in Riverton. Well, it was our farm in Riverton. We sold it a couple of years ago now, and we live right in the village of Riverton, and that's our launch pad for ministry and school presently. So just a few scenes of what agriculture looked like for us. We were just regular prairie farmers, growing crops and selling them into the market. These are the people that we try to serve now. This is really fairly quintessential agriculture within Africa and in other parts of the developing world as well. In fact, there's a billion, I'm told there's a billion smallholder farmers in the world. Most of them are working without any kind of mechanical technology. Just think about your homes. Wives, think about your kitchens, about whether they're the major appliances or the countertop appliances that you've got. Just do a mental inventory sometime about what it is that makes life easier in the kitchen. That lady would have a few aluminum cooking pots and a 3-stone fire to cook on. And she hopes that she can afford charcoal or find firewood somewhere. That is the reality for many in Africa. And it's like that in many spheres of African life. Now, I'm sorry, I didn't get this one turned here. So you got to kind of crick your head over to see the map. We work in South Sudan. And maybe I'll just go over here. So when you think about the big challenge left within the Great Commission, the 1040 window is really key, right? There is, 27% of the world's population is within this geographical window in large part. South Sudan is basically this here. It is categorized as a Christian country, but the level of discipleship in that country is lacking quite a bit. The transformative work of Christ himself in the lives of people is there's a lot of work there yet to do. It's a pretty hurting country. There's much poverty and lots of violence. And yet, as you can see, it's very strategic. I believe it's very strategic in terms of completing Great Commission. The people of South Sudan, I think, have incredible potential to reach those in neighboring Sudan and in other North African countries and perhaps in other parts of that window. Just another map here. Maybe if you go, there is this particular banner is up. Our people in Frontiers, this is their work. And South Sudan has heard the gospel, but they're unengaged. The work of the Great Commission is not there. And there's a lot of fighting even between churches and stuff like that. So it's like I said, there's lots to do. Africa is a big continent. The Mercator projection map just does not do justice to the immensity of Africa. And so you just look in here, all of the 48 states, China, India, all of Western Europe, Japan can fit inside the continent of Africa, and Africa is chock full of resources. Africa, with a resource base that they have, they should be dominating the globe. They have, because they've got it all. They've got energy, they've got agriculture, they've got in many parts of the climate there you can raise 2 crops a year. But they're not. And there's a long, sad history there of Africa that many of you are aware of, and we won't get into for today. South Sudan is a creation, a recent creation. It's the newest country in the world. At the time that British colonial rule ended in Sudan, it was just one country with a sort of a dual demographic. You had the Muslim, more Arabic Sudanese in the north. And once you got into the sub-Saharan African portion of South Sudan, black Africans were there more, I guess, and they would have been the, now I can't say it, but the tribal religions, if you will. It's not quite the word I'm looking for, but it's escaped me at the moment. Pardon? Animist, that's right. Thank you very much. And as animists, they were sort of easy adopters of the Christian faith. And so now there became this contrast between the Muslims in the north, who were more hardened and resistant to the gospel, and the black Africans who received the gospel. And it caused a civil war that was really religiously motivated. And really, in truth part, it was an Islamic jihad, and it lasted a half a century. And so South Sudan is understandably a grossly underdeveloped country. Not many permanent roads, one major city. The country itself, by land size, is about the size of Manitoba, about 650,000 square kilometers. 70% of the land base is agriculturally suitable in some way. And so tremendous potential, but the land is largely is largely not used. This is just another map of South Sudan that we can access as missionaries. This is a security agency that we can be in contact with when we need to make movements within the country and to find out if there are troubled spots that we should try to avoid. Typically, if I have to travel too much outside of Juba, or in the early part we were in the south and I would make trips to Juba for business reasons, we would use the services of Mission Aviation Fellowship, just because it's a much safer way to travel rather than using the roadways. Carjackings and the like are very common. Well, that picture doesn't look very good. I'm not sure why that is. But anyway, this is a map of the world that sort of gives you an idea of the different levels of corruption in the world. The very lightest are the least corrupt, and the darkest reddish colored are the most corrupt. And so South Sudan, well, I wouldn't be able to touch it from there. I don't want to have one of those little laser pointers, but they are marked as one of the most corrupt countries in the world. Somebody has said they are the most corrupt country in the world. I can't sort of confirm or deny that, but they're certainly among the most dysfunctional. You could call South Sudan a failed state. The government really doesn't have control of the outlying areas, so lots of like warlords, and there's a lot of difficulty there. Anyway, so moving on. This is my village of Riverton, number 8 highway, which begins at McPhillips and the perimeter. Goes up and right past Riverton and then on to Hecla Island where it ends. And this is Juba, South Sudan. So both of these locations have rivers running through. We have the Icelandic River running through Riverton. There's only 500 people in Riverton, by the way, 500. Juba has a population of about 1 million, and it has the White Nile River going through it. So that's where the similarities are. Anybody want to tell me where the difference is in those two pictures? Population is one, but I haven't mentioned it. I've mentioned the things that are kind of similarities, but where would be the difference? Like just looking at kind of the obvious. Got it. Who said that? Okay. Good job. I like that. You guys are engaged with me. That's good. You see that? I mean, we've got the old British demarcation system with sections of land and then even in quarters. And this piece of land here is this might be pasture, and this is cultivated land, and there's some hay land or whatever, so we're organized and highly productive. They say at Riverton that it's the best kept secret in terms of land pricing because we've got some floodplain areas that are more susceptible to flooding like there was this last summer. So anyway, we had a kind of a tough year. So you go here, and this is just the way South Sudan is most everywhere. A culture that is unengaged in agriculture, and it has been because of that civil war history that they have, and the crowding of people into refugee camps into safe spaces. So generations have lost their interest and ability to do intensive agriculture. I mean, certainly there is some that's going on. The country only produces, there's 11 million people, they only produce about 25% of the cereal crop needs that they need. So they rely on the outside world for the rest. And there is always, this dry season again, there will be people dying of famine. And the index is pretty severe this year. That's more than half the population is in a severe food shortage crisis. So into that environment is what we work. This is an effort. I just took some screenshots of a 5-minute video that my son-in-law produced in that first time that we worked in South Sudan that Howard mentioned. So this is a combine that we had brought from Bought and Steinbach, shoehorned into a container on our farm in Riverton, and brought to South Sudan, close to the Uganda border. And it was fun. It was hard work. The logistics there sometimes were a little nightmarish because we just didn't have. We had equipment, but I didn't realize how much I had taken advantage or for granted all the support services that we had in our country here. But we got the crop off and we put it into bags, and it ended up being, I guess, kind of a lifeboat for the internally displaced peoples that came through just months after we got the crop off. Most of it was given away. We produced 10,000 bags, 25 kilogram bags of sorghum. And but almost an absolute economic loss. Like we had raised money to put in 450 acres of sorghum at over $100 an acre, and just all the operating costs that we had. In the end, we really didn't recoup any of that through sales. So then I just thought, I'm not sure this is a very sustainable model. So that's when the idea for the walking tractor really came into vision. I'm not sure. This was our resident buzzard in Juba, South Sudan, where we lived. We had a garbage dump right close by, and so he was always in there. Sorry? Yeah, that was real. So this is 2017. I came home, a bit disillusioned because the war had come through and swept our project away. My combine, as far as I know, was cut into scraps, and it was really bad. It was a bit of a frustrating thing and a soul-searching time. And I came home and just thought, well, maybe I could build a tractor. And anyway, I don't have a Mission Fest picture. I do have in my other slides, but if you were here in years past and you'd seen my spindly little machine, that was the one. And that was kind of where it all began. And I think people were kind to me. Like they thought, okay, this is a good idea, and maybe he'll think of something better before he really gets rolling. So that's about the time then that's the time that Cameron's wife came to my booth, and she was sent on assignment to help her husband find a ministry opportunity. He was just wanting to get involved in the Great Commission somehow, and was looking for an outlet for that. So she came across our display, and then that's where things began to change. My good friend from church had seen a Prairie Farm report where a little tractor like this, built in the United States after the Second World War, had now been restored, and this was a little sort of a special interest segment of the program. And he sent that to me, and I just thought, okay, this is it. This is really the right thing. The walk-behind tractor, I mean, it's hard to get people engaged in agriculture anyway. This is really not much different than, let's say, just the ox plow. But then this riding machine, and I thought, okay, this is simple enough by its design. And then Cameron took the next step by going on to Kijiji, and lo and behold, there were 3 of these machines in southern Ontario, and there's a miracle story of how we bought them and got them, but the Lord provided, and so we've got these 3 tractors at home in Riverton, and so if you look at it, it can be accessorized in many different ways. I got to keep moving along here. Where's my timekeeper?
I'm right here.
How am I doing?
So you are at 12:13. You got about 15 minutes.
Okay, thanks. Okay, and there'll be a time for Q&A after that. This one's got a little grater blade on it. Can pull a plow. This is one of the ones that we've got in Riverton. It's got some cultivator shanks on it. I like the mod that this guy did. Yeah. That's a bit of a customization of the thing, but I like that. And so anyway, that's what this thing is basically, except that the running gear is a little bit different. And I wanted the tractor to be buildable and drivable and affordable and serviceable, all those things, and to try to keep it kind of in the grasp of people in developing countries. And so I got home, and this was all kind of happening in early 2020, and then the lockdown happened, and I was already linked up with Kurt and Cam at that time, and we just started working on this tractor. When did I meet you, Kurt? Was that the fall of 2020? Maybe that was. I was already linked up with Cam, and I was just trying to think, how are we going to make all this possible? But the 2-year lockdown did give us time to get this thing developed, and we've got a tractor built now in South Sudan. The prototype is finished. And so there's been an awful lot of foundation building. If I would have told you that it was going to take 7 years to get to this stage, I might have just not even bothered. But there have been encouragement from people like yourself that have just kind of kept the wind in my sails and kept me going. And I'm just so appreciative for that. And people have stood with us in prayer and with finances too, because we've given ourselves to this. And it hasn't been easy. So, I mean, building a tractor factory in the most, dysfunctional country in the world is a bit of a daunting task. But by God's grace, I want to believe it's going to happen. So, a talk like this is just an opportunity to do a little bit of vision building with other people and to tell you that, I have a 2-year diploma from the Winkler Bible Institute. So I've got a little bit of Bible education. I've got some life experience. Ruth and I we are YWAM missionary alumni. We've done church planting. I pastored a church in South Dakota for a number of years. I've been a truck driver and a farmer and done a few different things. Pallet builder. We had a pallet building business on the farm for a while. And it's kind of all led to this. All that to say that I'm just an ordinary man. And I think all of us who are doing things, we're just ordinary people. And, but we believe in an extraordinary God. And, we've heard that call. And so I'm kind of hoping that as a result of some of the Bible college campuses that I visited this last couple of weeks, that there'll be some young people and maybe some parents of the young people there who would be interested in at least praying with us and or going with us for periods of time. Kurt's going to be coming out with me for a few weeks. He's a business owner here and kind of committed to that, so he can't give long periods of time, but they certainly help out where they can. I haven't got all the best design ideas, I can tell you that, but I do know that appropriate technology is a thing out there in the mission world. It's not as prolific as other kinds of ministries that you see. I don't think there's any other tractors here. There's 120 exhibitors. I think I'm the only one with a tractor. Anyone promoting appropriate technology. So it's a ground floor opportunity, really, for any of you who want to become involved together with us. I'm not even saying you got to be a welder or a mechanic or a gearhead. You don't have to be those kinds of things. If you're a warm body and you kind of think God might want to use you in this, or in agriculture, all those things can be learned. I'll tell you, I know more about soil science now than I did as a production farmer in Riverton. While I'm producing hundreds of tons of wheat and canola and soybeans, I know more on the micro scale that I operate now in terms of soil health and sustainable agriculture that I did then, and that has been through my missions experience. So there's always room to grow. Where am I going here now? I got a few more slides. It's going to get a little random after this. Does anybody know about Farming God's Way? So Farming God's Way is a made-in-Africa solution to their low productivity in agriculture. And it's Farming God's Way is not necessarily synonymous with organic. It's just using, it's concerned about soil health. If you got healthy soil, you will have productive and healthy crops. And but there's a spiritual component, a management component, and a scientific component, and they try to blend all three of those things for the smallholder farmers. Sometimes they can achieve up to a 10-fold increase in their crops. So that now you're going, if you're barely making it in terms of feeding your family, now you're going from that on the same size of land. Now you're going to having surpluses by which you can sell and send your kids to school and buy medicine and maybe enjoy a few luxuries. And so we try to take this tractor as I work by design and function. I'm thinking about Farming God's Way and the conservation agricultural techniques that are promoted through that particular curriculum. I just kind of whizzed through some of these slides here, but these were kind of the beginnings. You see the old Ride Master there in the background. Just by the way, the patent pending ended in 1967. So we're all good. We're not stealing anyone's intellectual property at this point, as far as I know anyway. And Kurt's shop is so nice. He's just got everything that I don't have in South Sudan, but somehow we're getting by. Yeah, good old Princess Auto. Yeah. Yeah, this is farming God's way. So they're into minimal tillage. They only plant where, or they're only digging where they want to put their plants. So this is set up for corn or maize. But you can see, well organized. You can, just by looking at this, there's some thought that's been put into this. And this is a training. So they're working on this kind of this training field, and then they will be adopting these, these myriad of farmers here will be adopting these practices on their own land. And they get some right nice results, I just got to tell you. So across is who are, that's the agency that we are under when we are in South Sudan. And they are a faith-based relief and development organization with about 300 employees in South Sudan, and they've got a fairly big budget, and they approve of our vision, and they give us a lot of logistical support there. So we did box, we cut a second tractor, all the parts for it, and we boxed it up like this and sent it to South Sudan so that the first tractor that I built would be a little bit easier to build. This is the facility that we work out of. This is called the Sudan Fellowship Mission. They do well drilling. And that building is where, well, by God's grace, we'll be using it to build tractors. At the time, this is the way it looks at the moment. So we don't work in this building yet. We're hoping that at some point it'll be able to be cleared out. And but we're using an overhang. Just you see the come on. Okay, you see those doors over there? That's the other side of the doors there. And so we're working under this overhang to build the tractor. But we got it done. We have to come up with our own power, like what we're doing requires electricity. So this is a 16-horse single-cylinder diesel engine, and it runs a generator. So that's all kind of set up there. You guys, the 45-gallon drum is just full of water, and so the water just circulates to cool the engine through that drum, and that's how we get it done here. So I don't know if any of you, maybe most of you probably don't follow me on Facebook, but I was tagged. The big guy on the left side of the picture there, he has a ministry and is on Facebook all the time. So I was tagged in this particular video of his where he's promoting my tractor, and I'm describing it there, and then it's, okay, let's put it to work and show all of our, the whole Facebook world what the tractor can do. I got 100 feet down the road, and then it broke. So, one of the bearings blew apart, and it was kind of ugly, but he was good at just kind of smoothing over. It did get sent. You'd probably find it. If you look up Donnie Brake, you'd see it. But anyway, so we knew we had some work to do. Yeah. How are we doing for time?
About 5 minutes.
Okay, thanks. Okay. Well, you got to get other people involved. So this is my employee, Majak, and riding the motorbike that we bought for a couple $100. When I need something from the market, I just say, Majak, go get it. And he hops on the bike and he goes. And I just had to take this picture just because of Africans and their love of color. I just love it. That would never work here, right? The green with the pink bag, but there it's just fine. And there's nothing at all weird about it. And so I just have to appreciate the whole thing. This was some of the things that I was trying to do without using the services of a machine shop there. That maybe doesn't speak to you at all, but that's a motorbike sprocket on the backside of the bike, that's driving the wheel. And we're trying to make use of it on our tractor, and that's, you kind of have to fit a square peg into a round hole. So I was trying to use non-sophisticated methods of fabricating this, and this wasn't working out very good in the end. That was the reason that tractor broke from that previous story. So now we're using the services of a lathe machine to cut the bushings that will work, in place of where that nut is. This bushing fits in very nicely and makes things run nice and straight and true. And so we are getting into a machine shop as well. The Lord entrusted me with about 6 or 7 pieces of fairly antique-ish machining type equipment. A lathe, a milling machine, a big drill press, massive power hacksaw, and all in extremely fixer-upper condition. It had been sitting outside and getting rained on, and everything seized up. But I'm hoping that with a little TLC, it'll all come into working operation. So, yeah, you can kind of see where that bushing was fabbed into that particular sprocket, and everything works pretty good now. We are an equal opportunity ministry. We're so Elohim, she's I just love her. She's hardworking and had taken some vocational training when she was in high school and a little bit post-high school, and so she was working together with us too. So between her and Majak, they were very faithful and helpful assistants, and kept me encouraged in the project. So there they are, my dream team. Hope to add many, many more people to it. This is just a big roadside poster of a conceptual drawing of an agricultural university in Ethiopia, and the group from the United States and Canada that are working to see this come together have been also very interested in my tractors. So to date, these are the two groups that I'm working with, both in South Sudan and Ethiopia. They're neighboring countries to each other. And then this morning, from I'm with the Evangelical Mennonite Church. Our church in Riverton is a sister church to that. And one of the EMC employees came up to me today and said, we've got a work in Nicaragua that I think we should have a conversation about. And at present, I'm the only full-time guy in this, and I'm already like, I'm working in 2 other countries, and what do I do? So I'm hoping that maybe the Lord will start shoulder tapping some of you or others that I have the opportunity to speak to be involved with the kind of work that we're doing. Well, this was the day that we collected all of this fairly rundown, as you can see, farm equipment. Yeah, but this is just how it was. And that's what we finished up with. So, we got one built. It seems to be running pretty good. And by God's grace, I hope to see thousands, if not tens of thousands, of these machines all over the world someday. So, and maybe some of you will come along for the ride. Okay? Thanks.
Let's take some time for questions so that you may have. Brian, thank you. I guess one of the questions that I would, I'm sorry, we've got one here.
I was going to ask, so do you donate these to people in Sudan, or are they for profit?
Very good question. I resist the idea of donating because I just know when something is gifted, you tend not to appreciate it the same way that you would if you had to put your own skin in the game, right? If you had to buy it yourself. We have interest from some NGOs or missionaries, who've got resources. I have talked with MCC, with Samaritan's Purse, with World Vision, with the UNDP. So we've even got that. We're on the radar with them. And once we can scale up and get some numbers, they're prepared to start buying. And we build a machine at about, our selling price is about double what it costs us to build it, so that we actually have a for-profit kind of a business. We want to be able to pay our people a living wage and demonstrate God's goodness in that. We want to have money for R&D. We want to have money for after-sales support and for warranty if we need to. So what else can I say? One of the things that's real common, at least in East Africa, that I'm familiar with is the motorcycle taxi industry. In Uganda and in South Sudan, they call it the boda boda industry. Most of those boda riders, as my brother here will know, don't necessarily own their own bikes. And they look like the one that Majak was riding, by the way. But they have a friend or a relative who has purchased that bike and leases it back to him on a daily basis for about $2 or $3. So that within about a year's time, the bike the costs on that bike have been recouped. And so I'm hoping that model of financing that is pretty organic to their society will be a model that will work with this tractor. The tractor will cost about, it's like 2 motorbikes. But I'm thinking that the revenue generating potential would be far in excess of what the motorbike taxi industry can do, because it's become kind of saturated. You know, there's a lot of these guys around. When you go into a city center or a trading center, you see a half a dozen bikes under an iron sheet roof just staying cool, and most of them are not that busy. So I would love that to be the problem with this tractor, you know, maybe some decades down the road, because that'll mean that the land is now in use, and people are feeding themselves. So, yeah. That's another good question. Well, this one I move around on my little Nissan Versa, pulling a little trailer. You know, if you untie the chains, I thought, well, we could just make a little hitch that would be removable and tow it with a motorbike. Like, we would get into that, or it can go in the back of a Land Cruiser or whatever. Or you can drive it at 5 kilometers from field to field too, but that might be a bit slow. So,
Question back.
yeah. Not very, right, Kurt? It's not complicated. I mean, just think about tractors from even 100 years ago. I mean, these big companies were foundries, right? They had to be melting. They were making cast housings, and I mean, I just try to find really basic stuff off the shelf mostly, and then we're taking dimensional steel, cutting it to length, drilling holes, and welding it together. So it's about as low-tech in the metal fabrication industry as you can get, I think. Would that be fair to say? So my colleague Kurt there owns a welding shop in Marquette, and so that's his gig. And it's not too high-tech. I want it to be very highly repeatable, you know. I'd love somebody to take my idea and steal it, you know, and run me out of business. Then I'd really feel like I've accomplished something. So.
I have a question that might relate a little bit to, you mentioned about the spiritual need
Yes.
in South Sudan as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
How would you see this fitting in with that?
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, as missionaries, you know, Ruth and I, we got to go to church on Sunday, and we just have a relational reach. Mine looks a little different than hers, but there's always opportunity to affect people positively for the kingdom. And so it's, you know, we don't structure outreaches, and, you know, we don't preach on street corners, but I connect with Muslims. And I've had the opportunity to give away Arabic audio Bibles, and I've had people ask me, well, like Muslims ask me, well, like the Trinity, like what is that all about? And then for me, that's like, okay, this is a little over my head, because I understand it as much as a human can understand the Trinity, but I don't have the language set. So then I get an Arabic pastor who I've connected with, and I will just organize a time during work time where he'll come, and I just buy food for everybody. And then we just have this casual, non-threatening discussion with Muslims, and they love it. Yeah. So it's that sort of a thing. We go to church, and it's an international church, but there's lots of nationals there too. And just anytime we can build relationships and encourage one another, it's kind of like that. I mean, when I was running my pallet building business, one of my employees was a kid my age, or my children's age, and one of the most encouraging words I've ever heard was from his parents, and he said, "Brian, I want you to know that our son said that you're the same person during the week that you are on Sunday," and you know, I try to maintain that. Doesn't mean that it doesn't get challenged sometimes, but yeah, that's what we try to do. I don't know if that is there more to that question you want me to try to answer? No? Okay.
But we do have some young men.
Yeah, yeah. Go for it.
How long does it normally take to build one?
Well, I'll tell you what. If I'm hoping that as long as it took to build that tractor is not normal, because that took me 7 months. But there was a lot of pieces that had to kind of come together. I didn't have my workshop and everything, but I have a ambitious goal of building 1 tractor a week to begin with. And we will slowly scale up, hopefully to where we can build 1 tractor a day. Can you imagine? So like 200 working days in a year, that's 200 tractors. That's not bad math already. And I think that's fairly doable. I was a pallet builder, like somebody, like shipping pallets, okay? You put stuff on and the forklift comes from lumber. And so we were taking in long length lumber, cutting it, ripping it, nailing it together, stacking it, putting it on trailers. I could build about 250 a day. And I thought, could I get to where I could build 1 tractor a day? I think so. This is a fairly, non-sophisticated machine here, and we should be able to do that. And then who knows where it'll go from there. But, yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now.
I see a hesitant hand rising there. Okay, go for
Yeah,
it.
go for it. Well, the 2 that you saw there, Elohim and Majok, they were the 2 that were with me the whole time. They've each got an incredible story, but I haven't got time to tell it right now. So, yeah.
You're going back?
Yes.
When? Going with Kurt?
Yeah, right. It'll be sometime in March, and
Okay.
some of those is most likely just be a short trip. You saw in one of those introductory pictures that Ruth and I, we have 5 children. We haven't had our whole family around us in 4 years, so that is really a high priority for the 2 of us. I describe our family like this. I said, when Ruth and I are in Africa, our family is distributed on 3 continents in 4 different countries. So, and COVID just, with the pandemic and limited travel and everything, just held that up. So, anyway, that's a big priority. And then once Ruth finished school, we'll be spending, more time, I think, in South
Okay,
Florida.
great. Well, listen, thank you so very much. Let's give him a hand again for the presentation.
Yeah, thanks for this honor. This wasn't supposed to happen. I wasn't supposed to be the speaker this morning. You got 2 minutes to tell the story?
Well,
Okay, so Tom Castor, he's the director, the present and outgoing director of Mission Fest. Last year when I had the tractor here, he says, Brian, I'd love for you to do a workshop. Great, I'd love to do that. No problem. I'll email you in September. So I'm in South Sudan, and September comes and goes, and October comes and goes, and by mid-November I thought, well, maybe I should email him. So then I did, and it's like, I forgot all about you. Sorry about that. We're all full up. He says, well, no problem. God's timing is perfect in all these things. And then I saw him looking in, to the really crowded event last night, the main event. And I just thought, I'm just going to go chat with him for a few minutes. And I just said, hey, Tom, you know what? Just in case you have a no-show for your workshop, just want to let you know I'm available. And he said, who are you? He says, oh, I'm the guy with the tractor. Oh, right. And he's like, Brian, you're an answer to prayer. I just found out an hour ago that, the guy missed the flight or whatever the circumstances were. And here he was.
He couldn't get in. Visa.
Okay, right, okay. And so, I decided to pack this little adapter along with me when we were packing for here. Just not knowing, but wanting to be available. And so
Amazing.
that's how that worked out.
That's great. Well, listen, let's just pray. I'd like to pray and then send you all off. By the way, the next thing is lunch. And so grab some lunch because the breakout groups start again. I think it's 1:15 this afternoon, so you got a little bit of a break there. But let's just pray. I'd like to really pray. Thank you so much, Lord, for Brian and Ruth and how you've led them on this journey, for Cam and Kurt who have joined in on this as well. I pray your blessing on them as they move ahead with this project you've laid on their hearts. Thank you so much for that. And Lord, I pray especially for this next trip coming up, these 2 men going back, that you would just give them protection and guidance as they go, give them wisdom and just supernatural understanding of moving this project ahead. We just pray, Father, that you would be honored and glorified in the southern Sudan through this particular ministry. Thank you so much for the privilege of serving you. And I pray, Lord, as we go from here, continue to work in our hearts lead us, Lord, to be faithful in doing what you're tapping us on the shoulder to do, so that Jesus would be honored and glorified in our lives. Amen. God bless you, everybody. Thank you so much.